And I was curious for your reaction to the hard foul Caitlin Clark took last week, and then more broadly, if you have any concerns about her first couple weeks in the league.
I'll leave the specific question about the foul to my colleague, Commissioner Engelbert. I mean, other than as a fan, obviously, it's nothing new in basketball that there's sort of welcome to the league moments, especially for heralded rookies. But of course, I want to see Caitlin treated fairly and appropriately in the league. I would say, seems like she can take care of herself. She's a.
Adam Silver just got hit with the biggest backlash of his career. And it's all about Caitlin Clark getting beat up in the WNBA. Fans are now pointing fingers directly at the NBA commissioner, saying he's responsible for letting this mess happen. The social media meltdown is absolutely wild, and Silver's response is even wilder. But before we get into this absolute disaster, let me know in the comments. Do you think Adam Silver should step in and clean up the WNBA's mess? Well, folks, we've officially reached the point where Adam Silver is getting dragged harder than a broken suitcase through an airport. And honestly, it's about time someone held this man accountable for the absolute circus that the WNBA has become. Under his watch. For those who don't know, Adam Silver oversees the WNBA as the NBA commissioner, which means every single disaster that's happened with Caitlin Clark's treatment falls squarely on his shoulders. And boy, are fans making sure. He knows it.
Tonight is the tip-off for the WNBA All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is home court for reigning Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark and her team, the Indiana Fever. But the superstar will be sitting out this weekend after a groin injury earlier this week. Clark released a statement through the team saying she was sad to miss out on the game, but, quote, I have to rest my body. Let's bring in Ben Pickman now. He's a staff writer for The Athletic and host on The Athletic's women's basketball podcast, No Off Season. Look, Ben, I got to rest my body too, but
the latest chapter in this ongoing nightmare started when Caitlin Clark was forced to miss the All-Star game with yet another injury. This time, it's a groin injury. But here's the kicker. It's not from normal basketball activities. This injury comes from getting kneaded in the abdomen by players who apparently think basketball is a contact sport like football. Now, fans have had enough of watching the woman who saved their precious league get treated like a human punching bag. And they're directing their anger where it actually belongs, at the top. Adam Silver has been collecting a paycheck while his subsidiary league turns into the Wild West, and people are finally calling him out for it. The social media explosion has been absolutely beautiful to watch. Fans are tweeting at Silver directly, demanding to know why he's allowing the WNBA to destroy their own golden goose. They're asking why the man who's supposed to be this progressive leader of basketball is sitting back while female athletes get assaulted on his watch. And the best part? Silver can't hide behind Kathy Engelbert anymore. Sure, she's the WNBA commissioner, but everybody knows she reports to him. When your subsidiary is losing money for 20 years straight and then finally gets a lifeline in the form of Caitlin Clark, only to let her get beat up every game, that's a leadership problem. At the very top.
In the comment section right now, we see ticket prices dropping very fast. Folks, the get-in price, if you live in Indiana and you got nothing better to do, the get-in price, you might want to throw a couple 50, 60, 70 bucks.
The numbers don't lie either. The WNBA has been bleeding money for 2 decades, losing around $20 million annually. That's NBA money keeping the lights on. So, when fans see Caitlin Clark getting targeted with dirty plays while refs swallow their whistles, they're asking Adam Silver why he's allowing his investment to get destroyed. What's really got people fired up is Silver's complete silence on the matter. This is the same guy who loves to give speeches about social justice and protecting players. But when it comes to actually protecting the WNBA's biggest star, he's nowhere to be found. The hypocrisy is so thick, you could cut it with a knife.
I think ultimately this is very healthy for women's basketball in the WNBA. It's generating tremendous additional interest. In fairness to the other players and in fairness to Commissioner Engelbert, this didn't just start this year. Certainly we're seeing an acceleration of it with Caitlin, but many individual stars who came in this league in the last several years. And then, again, I've been with the league for a long time, so I was there the early days with Val Ackerman, and of course David Stern when we developed the WNBA, And in some ways, to me, this was a long time coming. If you went back and looked at our original business plan from 28 years ago, we didn't think it would be such a long timeline to kind of break into the sort of popularity we're seeing now. So ultimately, you know, I don't want to make too big an issue about one particular player, one particular call, but you know, I think the burgeoning rivalries in professional basketball, you see rivalries obviously among clubs, but also among individual players too. And I think that can be ultimately good for the sport. But
the timing of all this couldn't be worse for Silver either. The NBA just helped the WNBA secure a massive new media deal, partly because of the attention Caitlin Clark brought to the league. Now, that same player is sitting out major events because of injuries caused by poor officiating and dirty play that Silver's organization refuses to address. Fans are pointing out that in the NBA, if someone was targeting LeBron James or Stephen Curry the way players target Caitlin Clark, Silver would have refs making calls and issuing suspensions faster than you could blink. But because it's the WNBA, apparently different rules apply. The medical concerns are getting scary too. We're not just talking about bumps and bruises anymore. Caitlin has dealt with a quad injury, now a groin injury, and who knows what's next if this pattern continues. When your body starts compensating for one injury, it creates a domino effect that can lead to serious problems. The fact that Caitlin Clark put on muscle mass during the offseason to better handle the physical play only to still get injured because refs won't call fouls shows just how broken this system is. She literally tried to adapt to the league's allowed violence, and it still wasn't enough protection.
And it looked like Caitlin Clark looked like she got a little hurt towards the end there. Is there any update on her injury?
No update. No, just felt a little something in her groin, so we'll get it evaluated and see what happens from there.
Yeah, just kind of to follow up on that, looked like she was kind of grabbing at her right groin area. Is that the concern?
Yeah, if that's the one she was grabbing at, I don't know which one it was, but yeah, I mean, that's it.
Coach Stephanie White's handling of the injury news has been another disaster. She claims she didn't know about Caitlin's injury until the night before, despite fans noticing tape on her leg from multiple games. Either the coaching staff is completely incompetent, or they're lying to the media. Neither option looks good for an organization that Silver supposedly oversees. The Seattle Storm game incident perfectly captured everything wrong with this situation. Caitlin Clark was clearly in pain, limping around the court, and the coaching staff still put her back in a game that was already decided. She fell to the ground in obvious discomfort, and everyone just acted like nothing happened. This is the same pattern we saw with the Dejonai Carrington situation. Players can knee Caitlin in the abdomen, and not only do refs not call it a foul, but the league acts like it never happened. Meanwhile, fans are watching their favorite player get targeted with no consequences for the aggressors. The broader injury statistics in the WNBA are absolutely insane under Silver's watch. 141 injuries in a league with only 179 players playing 44 games. That's not normal wear and tear. That's a systemic problem with how the game is being officiated and managed. What's really telling is how other WNBA stars are also getting hurt. Aliyah Boston, Sabrina Ionescu, Nafisa Collier, the list keeps growing, but none of them brought the attention to the league that Caitlin Clark did. So, their injuries don't get the same scrutiny. Still, the pattern shows this isn't just about one player being targeted. The head and neck injury statistics are particularly alarming. 57 head and neck injuries in 2.5 seasons. In any other professional sport, that would trigger a major investigation. But apparently, when it's women's basketball under Adam Silver's umbrella, it's just business as usual. Silver's reputation as this forward-thinking commissioner is taking a massive hit. He's built his brand on being progressive and player-focused, but his handling of the WNBA situation shows that only applies when it's convenient or profitable. When it comes to actually protecting female athletes, he's been completely absent. The media coverage is starting to shift too. Even outlets that usually defend the WNBA are calling out the officiating and player safety issues. When the Washington Post is saying the league should change its logo to a bruise, that's a PR nightmare that goes all the way up to Silver's office. Fans are also connecting the dots about the CBA negotiations coming up. If players keep getting injured at this rate, it gives the league leverage in contract talks because injured players have less bargaining power. Some people are wondering if this is all intentional, which would be an even bigger scandal for Silver to deal with. The international perspective is damaging too. Caitlin Clark brought global attention to women's basketball, and now international. Fans are watching her get beat up with no protection from officials. That's not exactly the image Silver wants to project for American basketball leadership. The sponsors have to be questioning their investments as well. They signed up to support women's basketball, not women's mixed martial arts. When your biggest marketing asset is constantly getting injured because of poor officiating, that's money down the drain. Silver's silence becomes more damaging every day this drags on. In the NBA, he's quick to respond to any controversy or player safety issue. But when it comes to the WNBA, he acts like it's not his responsibility, even though he's literally the boss of the person who runs the league. The contrast with how the NBA treats its stars versus how the WNBA treats Caitlin Clark is stark. NBA players get flagrant fouls called for much less contact than what Caitlin deals with regularly. The officiating standards are completely different, and that inconsistency reflects poorly on Silver's leadership. The economic impact is huge. 2. The WNBA finally had momentum. Viewership was up, attendance was climbing, and new fans were tuning in. Now, all of that progress is at risk because the league can't protect its biggest star. That's a business failure that ultimately lands on Silver's desk. The player safety protocols in the WNBA are clearly inadequate compared to the NBA. The medical staff, the officiating standards, the disciplinary procedures, everything seems like it's running on a smaller, less professional scale. But the violence and injuries are just as real as in any professional sport. Caitlin Clark's viral call-out of the refs was a turning point. When family members of players start going public with criticism, that's when you know the situation has reached a breaking point. And all of that negative attention ultimately reflects on Silver's leadership of basketball operations. The fact that Rebecca Lobo had to call out fouls during the broadcast because the actual referees wouldn't do their jobs is embarrassing for everyone involved. It shows the officiating problem isn't subtle. It's so obvious that commentators feel compelled to point it out in real time. The injury compensation pattern is textbook sports medicine. When one part of your body is hurt and you don't let it heal properly, other parts start to overwork to compensate, leading to new injuries. Caitlin's progression from quad to groin injury follows this pattern perfectly. The timing with the All-Star game makes this even more damaging. The WNBA's biggest showcase event is happening without their biggest star because the league couldn't keep her healthy. That's a massive failure that gets noticed by casual fans who only tune in for major events. Silver's handling of this situation will define his legacy in women's basketball. He had a chance to show real leadership when the WNBA finally had mainstream attention. And instead, he's presiding over a disaster that's undoing years of progress. The fan revolt on social media isn't going away either. Every day, Caitlin Clark is out with injuries. More people are tagging Adam Silver and demanding accountability. The sustained pressure is unlike anything he's faced before because it combines sports and social justice issues. The international implications are serious too. The NBA is a global brand, and the WNBA's handling of player safety reflects on the entire organization. When international media starts covering American basketball players getting hurt due to poor officiating, that damages the sport's reputation worldwide. The generational impact is concerning as well. Young girls who've started watching basketball because of Caitlin Clark are now seeing their hero get beat up with no consequences for the aggressors. That's not exactly inspiring the next generation of players and fans. Silver's previous statements about supporting women's basketball ring hollow when his actions don't match his words. All the progressive talking points in the world don't matter if you're not willing to actually protect female athletes when it counts. The medical timeline is worrying because groin injuries can be tricky to heal completely. If Caitlin rushes back too soon, she could be looking at a more serious injury that affects her entire career. That kind of long-term damage would be catastrophic for both her and the league. The coaching staff's apparent lack of communication about injuries is another red flag. If coaches don't know their star player is hurt until the last minute, that suggests serious organizational problems that go beyond just officiating issues. The contrast between how the NBA handles superstar players and how the WNBA treats Caitlin Clark couldn't be more obvious. NBA stars get superstar calls and protection from officials. WNBA stars apparently get targeted for extra physical play with no consequences. The business case for protecting Caitlin Clark is overwhelming. She's brought more attention and revenue to the WNBA than any player in history. Letting her get injured through poor officiating is like burning money, which makes Silver's inaction even more puzzling. The fan investment in this story shows how much Caitlin Clark means to the growth of women's basketball. People are genuinely angry about her treatment, and they're directing that anger at the person who actually has the power to fix it, Adam Silver. This whole situation has exposed the WNBA as being less professional than it pretends to be. The officiating, medical protocols, and player protection all seem amateur compared to NBA standards, despite being under the same organizational umbrella. The longer Silver stays silent, the more it looks like he either doesn't care about women's basketball or doesn't think it's worth his attention. Either way, it's a terrible look for someone who's built his reputation on being progressive and inclusive. Adam Silver better wake up fast before this situation completely destroys the WNBA's progress. The fans have spoken, and they're not backing down until someone takes responsibility for this mess. What do you think Silver should do? Next, drop your thoughts below. Smash that like button and hit subscribe for more NBA drama. Peace out. Sources.